Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about the single most important training method in the entire strength laboratory system, the maximal effort method. This is the method that most gyms skip entirely for this population, and it's the one that matters the most. Everything I'm going to show you today comes directly from the coach certification manual, the system of everything. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what the maximal effort method is, where it comes from, why you need it, what it does for your body and your brain, and how we train it safely, and why nobody else is doing it. Let's get into it. Before I get into the science, let me tell you why you should listen to me. In 2001, I was 19 years old, 120 pounds overweight, and I was crying in a bathroom after barely outrunning a guy in a wheelchair at Pasadena City College. I had no friends, no girlfriend. I was bullied my entire life. I had thought even about taking my life. But in that bathroom, something changed. I decided I was going to fight with the help of mentors like Rudy Aguilar, who said words like, "I'll never forget." Brandon, I've been waiting for you to come ask for help. And Bob Owens, Rich Peters, later Carson Jensen. I've lost 120 pounds, learned the science of how the human body actually works, and became a personal trainer in 2003. Exercise literally saved my life. That was over 20 years ago. Since then, I've spent every single day in the trenches with real clients. I'm not an academic. I'm a desperate fat kid who learned the science to survive. I've helped disabled people walk again. I've helped seniors heal from injuries their physical therapists gave up on. I've given athletes an unfair advantage. And everything I'm about to show you today comes directly from the Strength Laboratory Coach Certification Manual, a 15 module system I built over 20 years by synthesizing the work of Vergashansky, Zadarowski, Tudor Bompa, Carson Jensen, Christian Thibodeau, and my own experience. This isn't theory. This isn't one of man's opinions. This is the science of strength training unified in one system, tested on real people and quantified with velocity-based training. That's why I call it the system of everything. So here's what's happening in your body right now, whether you feel it or not. After age 30, you're losing 3 to 8% of your muscle mass every single decade. You're losing 1 to 2% of your bone density per year after 50. And your peak strength is dropping 10 to 15% per decade. This is sarcopenia, osteopenia, and neuromuscular decline. And they're happening simultaneously. Now, here's the real problem. What does every commercial gym prescribe for people in this age group? Light weights, high reps, machines, toning classes, cardio, zero periodization, zero velocity tracking, and every single one of those prescriptions accelerates the decline because none of them load the body hard enough to trigger the adaptations that actually reverse it. Just a little historical background. The maximal effort method is not new. It comes from decades of sports science research. In the 1960s and 70s, Soviet researchers like Vergashansky and Zadarowski classified these effort methods, the maximal effort, dynamic effort, repetitive effort, as part of their Olympic training systems. They defined the maximal effort method as loading at or near an individual's capacity to develop peak force production. In the 1980s and 90s, Louis Simmons at Westside Barbell brought these methods to the West and popularized them through the conjugate periodization for competitive powerlifters. But here's the key distinction. That was for elite powerlifters, young, experienced, competition-focused athletes. What we've done at the Strength Laboratory is take that science behind the maximal effort method and adapt it for a completely different population, adults age 40 to 70 who are training for longevity, not competition. We use concurrent periodization, velocity-based training, and our proprietary belt and suspenders auto-regulation system. This is not conjugate. This is not powerlifting. This is longevity training built on proven science. So let me define this precisely. The maximal effort method uses loads at or near your current capacity to develop peak force production. That's the textbook definition from our certification. The maximal effort short, your absolute max, 1 to 3 reps. Every muscle fiber you own is firing. This builds your ceiling, how strong you can be. Maximal effort long, heavy, but sustainable. 4 to 7 challenging reps. Most of your muscle fibers are firing and you're teaching them to stay on. This builds your engine, how long you can stay strong. Ceiling versus engine. You need both. When you train both, your body doesn't just get stronger, it stays stronger. it stays yours. You keep the power to catch yourself on a wet sidewalk and the endurance to carry every bag from the car in one trip. You get up off the floor without grabbing the couch. You keep up with your kids at the park without needing to sit down. You can haul your suitcase into the overhead bin on your own. You can move the furniture when you want to, not when someone's available to help. That's the difference. You don't become the person who waits for help. You stay the person who handles it. Strength is your insurance policy to independence. The maximal effort short and maximal effort long methods are the two premiums you pay. This is critical to understand. The maximal effort method is not just one method among three. It is the foundation that every other method depends on. Think about the dynamic effort method, your speed and power training. Power is force times velocity. You can't express maximal power if you don't have force. If your force ceiling is low, it doesn't matter how fast you move, your power output stays low. Maximal effort raises the force ceiling. Dynamic effort teaches you to reach peak force faster. That's why the person who skips training at or near their loading capacity, i.e., lifting too light, and only does explosive work, hits a wall. There's no force ceiling to accelerate towards. Same thing with repetitive effort, the muscle building method. Repetitive effort builds size, but the tension on each rep is limited by how strong you are. A stronger person produces more tension per rep at the same velocity. That means maximal effort makes every single repetitive effort set more productive. That's why two people can do the same workout and get completely different results. One has a higher ceiling, pulling more out of every single rep. Picture the force velocity curve. Maximal effort anchors the left side. Maximal force. Dynamic effort anchors the right side. Maximal speed. Repetitive effort falls in the middle. If you pull that left anchor down by skipping max effort, the entire curve drops. Every quality drops with it. Strength, power, speed, endurance, all of it. What does that look like at 55? It's the difference between stumbling on a curve and catching yourself instantly versus going down. It's standing up from a low chair without pushing off the armrests. It's carrying a 40-pound bag of dog food from the car without your back giving out. It's keeping your balance when your grandkid crashes in your legs. It's shoveling the driveway without being wrecked for 3 days after. No amount of lightweight, high rep training will ever replace maximal effort and what it does. You can do sets of 20 all day long. If the ceiling is low, the ceiling is low. Everything you do sits under it. Maximal effort is the foundation. Dynamic effort and repetitive effort are what you build on top of it. The coach's certification identifies 4 primary adaptations that only maximal effort training can produce. Number 1 is maximal motor unit recruitment at 90% or above. Henneman's size principle mandates that every motor unit is recruited, from the smallest slow twitch fibers all the way up to the largest type 2X fast twitch fibers. Those type 2X fibers have the greatest capacity for force production and the greatest potential for hypertrophy. Light loads never touch them. Number 2, maximum rate coding. Challenging loads force the nervous system to fire motor neurons at their highest sustainable frequencies, 35 to 40 hertz instead of 20 hertz. This is what produces peak force. It's also the firing pattern that activates when you trip on the curb and your body needs to catch itself in a millisecond. Number 3, intermuscular coordination. Moving a maximal load through a squat or a deadlift requires precise timing and sequencing across every muscle in the kinetic chain. This whole body coordination cannot be developed with light loads. Number 4 is bone density. Wolff's Law says bone remodels in response to mechanical stress. Only loads near maximum produce enough force through the tendon bone junction to actually trigger new bone formation. Light loads do not do this. Period. Now, let's talk about what maximal effort training actually does to the way your body looks, because this matters to people and nobody explains it. When you train with challenging loads, you trigger myofibril hypertrophy. This is the actual growth of contractile proteins inside the muscle fiber, actin and myosin filaments, increasing in number and cross-sectional area. This is different from sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is the pump and fluff you get from high rep training. More fluid inside the cell, more temporary volume. Myofibril growth produces hard, dense muscle, not puffy, not watery, dense. When people say they want muscle tone, what they actually mean is visible muscle density under low body fat. That density comes from myofibril hypertrophy, which comes from max effort training. Lightweight, high rep programs produce sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. The muscle gets bigger but softer. Maximal effort training produces the hard, full, defined look that everyone is actually chasing. And here's the bonus: max effort training also remodels your connective tissue. Tendons thicken, fascia stiffens, everything tightens up. Your muscles sit together against the frame. You look more athletic, more put together, more defined, even before you lose a single pound of fat. This is something almost nobody in the fitness industry talks about with this population, and it might be the most important slide in this entire presentation. Maximal effort training doesn't just build your body, it protects and rebuilds your brain. First, BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Challenging resistance training is one of the most potent natural stimulators of BDNF production. BDNF is the protein responsible for growing new neurons and strengthening existing neural connections. Higher BDNF means better memory, faster processing speed, improved executive function. Second, maximal effort training is central nervous system training. Every maximal rep requires your brain to coordinate motor unit recruitment sequencing rate coding at maximal frequency and intramuscular timing across the entire kinetic chain at a full capacity. This keeps neural pathways sharp. It's use it or lose it, and maximal effort training is the ultimate use it stimulus. Third, the hormonal cascade. Challenging compound movements produce the strongest acute hormonal response of any exercise type. Testosterone, growth hormone, IGF-1, all three of these hormones are neuroprotective. All three decline with age. Max effort training is one of the most powerful natural interventions to maintain them. And fourth, the research is clear. Higher grip strength and overall muscular strength are consistently associated with significantly lower risk of cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, and dementia. Strength is neuroprotective. When I say strength is your insurance policy to independence, I'm not just talking about your body. I'm also talking about your mind. Now, here's where we address the elephant in the room. How do we keep people safe when we're using loads near their maximum? Well, the answer is auto-regulation. We have two independent systems running simultaneously. First, the MER framework, maximally effective reps. We use velocity-based training technology that tracks the speed of every single rep in real time. Each method has a target velocity zone. Max effort short is 0.15 to 0.35 meters per second. For maximum effort long, it's 0.35 to 0.5 meters per second. When your velocity drops below the target zone, the set is done, period. Not one more rep. Your body dictates the load and the volume, not a program written weeks ago when we had no idea how you'd feel today. Second, belt and suspenders framework, our dual layer auto-regulation system. Layer one is objective, velocity-based cutoffs. The technology says stop, we stop. Layer two is subjective, coach observed readiness, and how do you feel, your relative perceived exertion. We regularly check in with you to ask, how are you feeling? Two independent safety systems running on each and every rep, every set. If either one gets flagged, we adjust immediately. This is why zero clients get hurt. The system protects you before you need protecting. We never guess, we never hope, we always measure. Now, I hear this question constantly. Isn't this dangerous at my age? Well, let me be direct. First, challenging is relative, not absolute. Your maximum effort is your maximum effort. It's based on where you are today, not where some 25-year-old athlete is. And it's tracked by velocity and adjusted every single session. Second, not training with challenging loads is the real risk. Without maximal loading, your bones thin, your neural drive fades, your strength reserve shrinks. When you fall, and statistically you will fall at some point, that fall becomes a fracture. That fracture becomes a hospital bed. That hospital bed becomes a loss of independence. The things you're afraid of, challenging loads, is the thing that prevents the outcome you should actually be afraid of. Third, we never ask you to grind or strain blindly. The velocity-based training system tracks every rep. Your coach watches every set, 2 independent safety systems. You'll work hard, but never recklessly. And fourth, your body adapts faster than you think. Within weeks, loads that felt challenging become routine. That's your nervous system waking up. That's your strength reserve growing. That's your biological age reversing. Now, the maximal effort method does not exist in isolation. It's one piece of 3 methods that make up the system of everything. Our proprietary framework inside the coach's certification manual. Maximum effort short, maximum effort long, what we've been talking about today, are the neural methods that develop peak force production. Dynamic effort short, dynamic effort long are the dynamic effort methods. They develop speed, power, and rate of force development. Repetitive effort short and repetitive effort long are the repetitive effort methods. They develop hypertrophy, muscular endurance, metabolic capacity. All 3 methods are trained every week through a concurrent periodized program. Exercise variations rotate every 6-week cycle, different enough to prevent accommodation, similar enough to build on what's been established. The system is periodized, concurrent, and measured every rep, every set, every session. Strength is your insurance policy to independence. Your body, your brain, your quality of life, it all depends on your strength reserve. And the maximal effort method is how we build it. If you want to find out where you stand right now, we offer a 6-point longevity assessment, 6 biomarkers, a 600-point score, a letter grade, a biological age estimate, and it takes 1 session, and it will show you exactly where your strengths are and your weaknesses are and how long it's going to take to turn that around. The link's in the description. The Strength Laboratory, 562-245-6460, or you could come on pop by. It's 645 South Beach Boulevard in La Habra, California. Come find out where you stand.